Okay, thank you. So hello everyone and welcome to the CHC webinar for April 2022 exam. I am Sheetal Tiwari, President of the CHC, and I am joined by Michelle, our office administrator and the first line of contact for the CHC, and our lovely guest speaker today, Andrea, a recently certified classical homeopath.
Trying to push down on the lever without gloves is not fun.
So before we start the session today, I want to congratulate every one of you for taking this first step towards getting certified. CHC certification gives you the opportunity to advance your career, distinguish yourself as an expert in homeopathy practice, and prove your ability to provide excellent client care. By achieving this milestone, you will join other homeopaths in demonstrating your specialized knowledge and continuing competence. Holding the CHC credential that has earned accreditation from National Commission for Certifying Agency, that is the NCCA, ensures that the professionals who work in healthcare settings have the knowledge, skills, and competence to lead people safely and effectively. So the CHC certification exam differs from any other exam you take on completion of your training program or any other non-accredited certification. The difference is in the way the exam is constructed. So to create the CHC exam, a job analysis is conducted every 5 years to review the current activities, responsibilities, roles, and the qualifications that are necessary for performance as a homeopathic practitioner. A survey is then cascaded to the homeopathic community, and its results are used to create the test blueprint. Now, each new question on the CHC exam must go through statistical analysis and psychometric validation, which is further reviewed by the subject matter expert committees who are certified homeopaths. Now, we at the CHC are dedicated to meet the NCCA standards for our exam and give our credential holders the privilege to equate themselves with the other healthcare professionals. Now, let me talk about the certification process. Now, applicants who pass the exam are ready for the informal CHC orientation. And after the orientation, the certification is processed and the certificate is officially CHC certified. Now, after certification, every credential holder has to meet the annual recertification, which is in the beginning of the calendar year after the certification year. And it includes CEU completion and fee payment. Now, this is a necessary step to maintain good standing. Now, I will request Michelle to tell us how to register for the CHC exam.
All right, so the registration is can be broken down to 3 different steps. There is the application process, the registration process, and scheduling. I'm going to share my screen just to make it a little easier so you can see the different steps involved. Let's see here. All right, so what you should be seeing here is the Homeopathic Directory website. To begin your registration, you'll want to go to our website and click on exam. And then there you'll find the button to register. When you click on register, you'll be prompted to create an account in Certimi. Certimi is the platform that we use to manage credentials. This process is very similar to any other online account that you've probably created. So once you've verified your email address, you will be prompted to log in to Certimi. So go ahead and log in. And once you log in, most likely the screen you'll see is My Credentials. And this is where you'll begin. You'll look for your CHC application. Click on there and you'll see all of the steps that are waiting for you to complete. There are 8 of them. you'll complete your application. You can see that I've completed it here because there's a green check mark. You'll complete homeopathy education and training, where you'll be uploading some files, health sciences, ethics, fitness to practice, confidentiality of test questions, and then you'll submit your application fee. Once you get to this point, all of these buttons should turn green, knowing so that you can see that you've finished them. But this one here will stay pending. This one is will turn green once the review committee has looked at all of the documents that you've uploaded. Once your application has been approved and your documentation has been approved, you'll be prompted to come back into CertiMe and finish your registration. And what that looks like is, in My Credentials, you'll see CCH certification. So now you'll have 2 assignments here, and you'll want to click on the certification assignment. And there are only 3 steps here. This one is much quicker. You'll click on exam fee and go ahead and make your payment. Once your payment is complete, you will be prompted by email to finish your registration and do your scheduling. So in that email, you'll receive a link to go to a third-party program, to a proctoring center. It will also give you study guides. So follow the links in that email. It's very important to being able to schedule your exam, which can be done in person or virtually. So those are 2 nice options for you, depending on your situation. And once you pass, or once you have taken the exam, these 2 fields will be filled in accordingly. So that's registration and application in a nutshell.
Thank you, Michelle. So now let me talk about the exam prep. So please check the exam resources page on the CHC website for help preparing the CHC exam, and use the exam outline to identify your knowledge areas that may need more work than others. The exam duration is exactly 4 hours, 240 minutes, and there will be around 240 questions on the exam, and you will not get the results right away because the test form needs to be equated by the psychometrician, and it can take somewhere around 3 to 6 weeks to get the result for our April exam. Now, exam day policies and procedures can be referred on the CHC certification handbook, and I will give you some of the important highlights. That it's like there is no outside material or references inside the exam room, no electronic devices, phone, computer, etc. inside the exam room. For online testing, a bathroom and water break may be taken. Please bring a clear water bottle with no labeling. For online testing, no bathroom breaks are allowed. However, if you need a snack or a water during the exam, please apply for an exam modification and have your healthcare practitioner document the healthcare reason for the modification. And in either case, there will be no additional time which will be added to the exam duration. No eating or drinking during exam, no test misconduct during exam. And please plan to arrive at the testing center at least 15 minutes prior to your exam start time. To be admitted to the testing center, you must provide the web assessor assessment purchase confirmation email you received after you schedule the exam, and 2 forms of photo ID. Now, in the US, Social Security cards are not acceptable second form of the photo ID. The test taker's identification must match the information listed on the launch test taker test screen. Now, for online testing, please keep the following information in mind: that you have to ensure that you have a fast and stable internet. The test taker must be always in the view of the camera. Please do not get up from your seat, lean out or stretch or look up. And if there is any issue with audio or video, that is the proctor is unable to hear or see the test taker, the proctor will ask the test taker to adjust camera and sound accordingly. Ensure a quiet, well-lit testing room with no one else in the room. Do not talk to yourself, anyone else, or read the exam aloud. If you wear glasses, you can leave them on. Now, please set up the biometric software on the testing computer prior to the exam time to make sure everything works well. Criterion Help provides excellent tech service, so simply tap help on the screen to receive the support. Now, if there are any irregularities, the examinee is required to report the irregularities to the CHC within 24 hours of the test date. And please send us an email on our office email address, that is chcinfo@homeopathicdirectory.com. Now, let me invite Andrea to talk about her experience of preparing for the CHC exam.
Thank you, Sheetal. So I took the exam this past October, and I decided in August that I would go ahead and take the exam. So the first thing I did was I visited the CHC website. So I think Michelle can pull that up so that you guys can see the exam resources that are available. And that was my first step. So I went ahead and looked at the exam resources, and I first printed out the exam outline, and Michelle, just click on that so you can kind of see. I just think it's so straightforward, exactly everything that's going to be on the exam and what you need to study and prepare for. So I printed this document off, and it shows all of the domains that are going to be potentially on the test. So that was my first step, was just to review all of this and get kind of my head wrapped around what is going to be on the exam. And then I went and I looked at the health sciences section in particular to make sure that I had covered or I had an idea what the health sciences portion of the exam would be as well. And so I just started to really try to take a high look at what the exam would look like to begin with. And then I printed off the remedy list. And so I recall, I think 150 remedies. So they're all listed here, the remedies that you need to be familiar with. And so I just prepared by just getting a good high overview of what the exam was going to look like. And then the next thing I did was I printed off the sample items. And so the sample items were really helpful because once I kind of saw the overview of the test, I literally went through the sample exam and I just took it just to see, like, where am I at? And it would give me a good idea of what I needed to study on. So I went ahead and took the sample exam and scored it for myself. And it immediately made me feel like, okay, I really am prepared to take the exam. And now I know exactly what I need to study. So those are the main resources. And of course, I went through the Code of Ethics to make sure that if there were ethics questions on the exam, that I was very familiar with those. That is also a part of the registration process, is that you have to be familiar with the Code of Ethics. But I feel it's really helpful to just print all of these things off. Oh, the other thing I printed off was the remedy relationship chart that's there right under the remedy list. That was very helpful. And as I went through and studied the remedies, I specifically used the remedy relationship chart to kind of group remedies and put them in categories for myself so that I had different ways to remember them. I know you can buy remedy cards already made up, but I felt it was very helpful myself to just make my own remedy cards. So I started about middle of August studying for the exam, and I probably spent 5 hours a week or so leading up to the exam, studying probably in all 45 to 50 hours just using that exam outline, the sample item test that I looked at, the health sciences portion, and I believe there's also a book list. I don't recall exactly where the book list is.
It's under references.
Okay, so if you look under references, thanks, Sheetal. I made sure that I had a good handle on all of these pieces. So the philosophy, the materia medica, the ethics, of course, and the repertories. And so I made sure that I had read each of the books that were kind of in that book list or was familiar with the content. And I used just the Morrison desktop guide to really help me prepare for the materia medica portion of the exam. And I made my own materia medica cards. And then I grouped them using the remedy relationship chart. And I grouped them, you know, if you've through your education, you've learned to group remedies. So I grouped them, you know, plant remedies, mineral remedies, emergency remedies, chronic remedies. I just thought of all the different ways to try to help myself remember those types of things. And I made sure that I read all of the major chapters that I had already been familiar with in the Organon, Kent's lectures, all of those books that are in the philosophy section. I just made myself familiar with those, refamiliarized myself with them. You know, basically from Hahnemann to Vitolkas, I just made sure I had a good handle on all of those philosophy sections, and that I reviewed the health sciences based on the exam resources outlined in the health sciences section there. So those were all of the steps that I took to prepare myself. And like I said, probably 5 to 8 hours a week or so. And then I did take the exam remotely. So that was my experience and how I studied for the exam. And I felt, of course, nervous, like everybody does, being tested, but I did well on the exam, and it was a very easy and clear process to study for it using the resources that are provided. I feel like we have everything we need to succeed on this provided for us here by the CHC.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And you know, I think everyone here would like to even know how are like you have been recently certified. How are you feeling like after getting the certification?
Yeah, it was a great, you know, accomplishment for me. I already had some clients before becoming certified, so my clients all were very excited to actually hear that I had passed the exam. They knew that I was working on that, and I feel like it added a layer of legitimacy to my practice. It really is a professional accomplishment. And so it's something that, I mean, I'm proud to have, you know, my CCH behind my name. And when people reach out to me for homeopathic services, I do feel like they have a greater level of confidence that I do have a certification. And so it has really added value to me just personally, just for knowing that I have attained that accomplishment. And then the fact that we need to maintain the certification by continuing education, I think is really important. When I did my orientation, after all, with Sheetal, it was nice for me to know, like, the goal of the certification is that we are continually growing and continually being a lifelong learner as a homeopath. And so I feel like that requirement by the CHC is an additional, like, spurring you on to continue to be an accomplished professional. So I appreciated that added layer. Is there anything else you wanted me to share, Sheetal?
I think that's great. And now we can just open our question and answer session. So you can, so if anyone has any question, you can raise your hands, and Michelle will take it open up it for discussion. So any questions for us? So I have a question from Swapna Ravipati, and she's asking about, please share some info on bootcamp. So we have the information about boot camps on our website. Michelle, do you want to open and show that section?
Yeah. Right here.
So it's right here. And can you just go back, Michelle, on the website page? So I also want to emphasize that we do not, the resources contained here are for informational purposes only and are not required to take the CHC exam. And all the views and opinion expressed on the website and publication are not necessarily those of the CHC. So it is here for the information, and we are nowhere endorsing any of the boot camps or preparatory courses. I think. So any other question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Swapna. Yeah. Thank you so much for the information. So how soon do we have to register? I mean, say if I'm planning to take in October, can I go ahead and register now also, or you would suggest to we wait till the close?
So our registration for the October exam will open somewhere in mid of August. So we usually open 8 weeks before our exam cycle. So our registration, you can register during that time.
We have another question from Srija. She has her hand raised.
Yes, hello. Like, I'm doing my retake this time. I took exam in October, last October. My question is, like, I paid the exam fees and asked me to schedule for the exam. I scheduled and I couldn't schedule in nearby location. Last time I took the exam, which is just 15 minutes away from my home, but now it's like 3 hours away. I have to drive there, and it will be really hard for me. I have 1-year-old baby.
Okay.
So it will be really hard. I have to travel to the other state. Like, I'm in Arkansas right now. I have to go to Kansas to take the exam. So please, can you please help me with this?
So Shrija, I think, like, as you said, you have already taken the exam and this is your retake, and the testing center which you took is not coming up when you are trying to register on WebAssessor. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
The nearby it's just showing 3 hours away from my place.
Okay. So Michelle, can you just help Shrija with this? And sometimes, it is the testing centers get shut down, and I think there might be some other reasons, and there is always an option for taking the test online, Shrija.
But online it may not possible with, like, I don't have any settings, and also online is not possible. I have to go take the exam. So the nearby is like 3 hours. It will be really hard for me. Like, I can't go 3 hours and on drive to other state actually.
Yeah, and especially with a 1-month-old baby.
Yeah.
So Michelle will look for the testing center, and we can contact Criterion, like what has been the issue with the testing center, with the test center where you took the exam in the last time. So we can get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So any other questions?
I don't see any others at the moment.
So how do I see the test center near my place?
So our test provider is Criterion. So if you go on the website, on their website, there is an option to locate, to add your zip code, and see the testing center, test locations near you. And once you register and you go on the web assessor to apply to select the date and timing of your exam, you get that option there too also.
Thank you.
Looks like Shrija has another question. Go ahead, Shrija.
Yeah, like it's not necessary now to register to the exam, which is in Kansas City right now, right? So will you said you'll get back to me again.
Yeah.
So there's no need to register to that exam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I need to confirm. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shreja. Okay, so any other questions for us regarding the exam, regarding the certification or exam prep?
If you prefer to write your question in chat, we can read the chat real quick.
So I think there is one question in Q&A, and is the okay, so we have a question from Marian Booker, and so is the homeopathicdirectory.com the site, the place to find the study resource? Yes, that's the site, and we can just put it on the chat so that you have the correct site.
I just sent the links.
Okay. So I think that's all. We can end the session if anyone has any further questions before we end the session. Okay.
Everybody's shy tonight.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining. And you can always write us on our office email address if you have any questions or if there is any help which you need. Okay. Okay, everyone have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you.